coming. We also have a microphone that's working. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. Technology is awesome. So today we are here to have a reading with Josh Fomon and our own Paul Cunningham. They will be reading from their new books, Our Human Shores. I'm sure it's available over there at our trusty table. Yeah. And Brillo, Paul's book. And what I thought about, because I just asked Matt the name of that writer. Can you say it again?
Aisha Ramachandran.
Right. This is a person who's worked on like global early modern writing. We discussed in the Global Lyric Club yesterday. And one thing that was interesting about that essay I thought was like, move away. If very frequently we think of the lyric as this like very fragile thing that's lost, frequently lost.
Let me out of here.
Exactly. We planned that. It's fragile, subjective, weak, and whatever. In her analysis, it's actually very capacious, and it's elastic, and it zooms in, and it zooms out, and becomes personal, and it becomes, whatever, aerial photography, whatever that is. That was my words, whatever. She didn't use that word, but she used the word zoom. So I think something that holds these two books together, I think that is interesting to think of them as lyric poems that are really powerfully full of movement like that, and maybe even more than zoom in and zoom out. It's almost like there's an interest in surfaces, which is something that maybe it was not part of that essay, but like the visual, the implications of looking at things. So you will see this, I hope you hear this. Paul will go first, and I'm doing a very lazy introduction to him. First I'm going to read just a little bit from his bio. You know who Paul is. He is our manager, also manager of Action Books, author of Sociocide at 24/7 from Diagram, which you read from last year. Fall Garment, the House of the Tree of Swords, and also participant in the recent Ancient Algorithms by Katrine Øgaard Jensen. And he's the program manager here. And I thought that Felix Bernstein's blurb was really good and extensive. So I'm just going to read this, and gets into a lot of what I mean by surfaces. Did Andy Warhol sell his soul to the white cube? Paul Cunningham threshes the rim between Warhol's shallow surface and Paul Tech's, quote, viscous interiority. The brand names, Tech, Warhol, Brillo, are repressed, retouched, and unboxed as art history unfolds through the gaze of a, quote-unquote, worm-like eye. Some context. In 1964, Warhol debuted his Brillo boxes at the Stable Gallery to the stupefied critical response, quote-unquote, shit. Warhol appropriated the 1961 commercial design of James Harvey, who is also an abstract expressionist painter. Warhol famously stole from art history and commercial media, but also more discreetly from his fellow artists, for example, borrowing the term superstar from Jack Smith. Reversing the exchange, Warhol also let himself be stolen from. In 1965, he lent a silk screen to Sturtevant for her series of Warhol flowers. In that same year, he donated a Brillo box to Paul Tech for his meat piece with Warhol's Brillo box. Simultaneously, Donald Judd was exhibiting his minimalist cubes. Judd, Warhol, and Tech seemed to stage a contest. Who can be the fullest, emptiest? The religious parallel is clear. Both pleurosis, filling, and kenosis, purging, must be achieved before reaching God. This is when things get very Catholic. Paul Cunningham decrypts the cubes only to uncover a quote-unquote flesh of code and a quote cryptography of open pores that cannot be wormed through. The cubes align in a cabinet of curiosities that becomes Cunningham's own memento mori. Will the void made flesh become spirit, or will we all rot away in self-consumption? Welcome to Paul.
Thank you, Johannes. And so now I don't have to tell you who James Harvey is. Arthur Danto, the art critic's also referenced in this book. I just a few contextualizing things, I guess, is I originally thought I was going to write an article about this Paul Tex meat piece with Brillo books, and instead I wrote a book-length meditation, a book-length poem as a meditation on this piece that very little writing has been done about. So if you're not familiar with Paul Tex, he's a gay artist, devout Catholic, unfortunately passed away from AIDS in 1988, but a very contradictory person, a longtime friend of Susan Sontag's, and actually a large part of the research behind this book is due to a really wonderful conversation I had with Matt Kilbane at the Christmas party 2 years ago. So,
Christmas party.
so but there's the book is called Brillo, and obviously Warhol's a big part of it. But the book is more so about tech and trying to write out of that box, that Brillo box, extending this lineage from James Harvey, who originally came up with the design for the Brillo box, then Warhol's Brillo box, appropriated from James Harvey, and then what does it mean to think through and out of the Brillo box in terms of a book. And so there's kind of a silly putty effect happening with the language in this book, which I'll be projecting. If you've ever played with silly putty when you were a kid, you press it against a comic book and the ink rubs off on the silly putty. So that's something else I was trying to achieve with this. But I'm very, well, actually, first I'll show you some of Tech's reliquaries, if you've not seen Tech's reliquaries before, but they're often featuring a limb, which were his own casts of his arms. Often hands and arms are the focus. Tech was very interested in the hand as the art-making piece of the human. He was interested in non-authorship, and one of his most famous quotes, and this was something I was thinking about, the quote is specifically, "I do nothing of myself, not I, but the wind that blows through me." The full quote is, "To wish that it may be known that I was the author is the thought of a man not yet an adult. Is the Holy Spirit any other than an intellectual fountain? I do nothing of myself, not I, but the wind that blows through me." And it's really strange for this devout Catholic who is so intensely concerned with transcending life and reality and one day entering the eternal kingdom of heaven, but also very focused on leaving a trace of himself behind, constantly struggling with his own gay identity as a devout Catholic. And that's one of the wax casts of his arms. And so thinking about the purpose of a reliquary to protect something that is considered sacred, and knowing also that he did not necessarily get along with Warhol in the 1960s, but they weren't necessarily enemies either. But Tech did feel like, and he wasn't opposed to secular art, but Tech was doing something different. And only in the last 5 or 10 years, I feel like you're starting to see Tech appear in poetry books more often. And so I think it would be wrong for me to not acknowledge Susan Howe's recent book, Depths, or Depths, or Depths, depending on how you pronounce the title. And something that's always coming up with Paul Tech is the fragmentary. So I just wanted to read a piece of Susan Howe's kind of ekphrastic response to Tech. "For what purpose? My body is made of bones in times of trouble and perplexity. I can bend my limbs and stretch half fish, half fishman in excelsis. A luminous aura surrounds all things noumenal. No need for money, money, money. Believe me, I am not rubbish. And so even though the book is called Brillo, there is no image of the box on the cover. I'm trying to, again, right out of that box, I am very much thinking of surfaces. And you'll notice this strange, is it a feeding tube? This is currently on display in the Philadelphia Art Museum. What is the comment here? An interestingly unique thing about this tech reliquary is that there's hair sprouting from the skin. Is it suggesting a continuation of pop art? Is this the decay of pop art? Is tech saying, is this a commentary on Warhol as the artist, that behind the boxes there is still a man? So I was, instead of writing an article, I basically just a long meditation on this very perplexing piece. So I will start there. Smash the meat against the hardware. Now rubricate its fractured whole. Brillo is life as material, digital mummification. Imprisoned carcass, sarcophagus, red-mouthed, red-handed, panoptical chiasma, choking hazards. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, "Take, eat, this is my body." Mark 26:26. A box of conceptual frames, of subtle movements. Can you open up the concept of difference, unlock the stranglehold, reveal the new multiplicity? Take, eat. I'm left wondering, incalculable body, risking dogmatism, risking the fixity of ideology. In the box, only choices, war or violence. Male or female. A box of etched echoes, inventions of all new inscriptions from past meanings or galleries past, or as such property, impossibility. Passers-by of unconditional ethics. In the box I choose animal, I choose creature, philosophies dance, paws, claws, talons, philosophies dance, meat is a face-to-face encounter. In the box, my eye sounds it all out. Philosophies dance, a volt to outlast, alphabet, a system to carve a sentence, a line stained red. A box is nothing more than a sketch, a trace of utter or pronoun, what mines the page into sight or ashes. In time, all meaning fades. In time, all sides bone with sound. Outside the peeled red of poet, blue sutured together, me, good for nothing. In time, everything I have, a handful of spit. I want to woman, to knowledge, but I am marked by another gender. Erect stance, I am the familiar box, my contents, my purposes, rectum, genitals. Red ants, my line thinks long, what is naked, what is warring, what is mutual recognition. Passers-by with cameras capture my animal differences. Warning, professional opinions waning. What prescription, what diagnosis, what warring, bone persistence, bone time. In your ear, a non-stop voicelessness. a greasy smear across museum glass where the Brillo slopped over. Quick, plug up the blood-caked cube. Careful, check your gloves for holes. Extra value, extra fast, shine aluminum fast. 3 cents off this blind box, this wall makes sense. 3 cents off this redesign, this wall makes sense. The 0 cent of shining meat encased in shining glass. Shine on, shine-o-matic, shine like an eye like a soap pad, eye like a knife. Shine, shine like kitchen sink bubbles. Now take your eye and now take your knife and just under the plywood, isn't it roomy in the meat? Do you feel that? Hold on to him. Hold on to Paul's red hat with Vincent's red brush. Hold on to Paul's letter to Susan, signed Vincent. I forgot to mention, in some of his letters to Susan Sontag, Paul used to sign off as Vincent. He was a big fan of Van Gogh. This was a strange little thing that they had. Now fill in the gaps. Use your fingers as if eyes. Fill in the gaps with his red brush. A visible display of cleanliness. The other poets want me to eat in, like they do with their clean hands. I'm not sure if I can, because no hands are clean. I'll try if you insist. Spreading your, slipping out of my, stretching my, and I'm eyeing your, hardening to, pulling it back, sucking your, to be bathed in. I don't think this is working. I prefer the meat, its illegibility. The meat is not rotten, the meat is divine. I guess it's back to the knives. Knife against plywood, separate hide from muscle, remove the everyday with cold steel wool, reveal the Brillo and perceive the slab. What is this carton of knowing, a butchering of meaning, or leaving one's own skin? Is it leaving a gallery or dismissing proper behavior? Is it the roaring entrails of a delicatessen? The slab of evidence, of civilization, the slab of art, of autopoetic linking, material instantiation, a form of pure electricity. This is the decay of the aura, the bliss of the gloss of the meat, feeding tubed phantom box, shine-o-matic shine. The museum floor, the slaughter floor, scuffed by cows for auction, slippery when wet, every passing eye enters the box, praying for a camera to establish truth. Now take your knife and incision, center of the swelling Brillo, point the box downward to the runoff gutter. Now watch for changes in the sifting organs. Bones and flesh carried from Brillo crate to Brillo crate, tombs or vaults refleshing the surface of pop from a single crack where muscle breathes. In the hibernaculum, muscle negotiates with oxygen and fat to form, to flower. A corpse's face, a corpse's flower. In the hibernaculum exchanges regularized by passage, this platform's pre-established forms. Paul's is like Andy's. Andy's is like Paul's. Arthur's is not like Andy's. Andy's is like James's. James's is not like Paul's. But Paul's is like Andy's. In time all sides bone with sound, outside the peeled red of poet, blue sutured together me, good for nothing. In time, everything I have, a handful of spit. Final image cannot be shown. Thank you.
Yes.
Also, I forgot to mention that we have a bunch of events coming up, so make sure you look at the schedule. Next week, Shang Yushan, and also Dorothy Tse, and following week, N.K. Jemison. All right. Next up, we have Josh Fomon. We'll get more of, what was the line with the sound? The eye makes the sound. The eye. We have more eyes making sounds. I think, like in this book, it's a nice kind of thesis statement for the reading. This is what I wrote of Our Human Shores. In Our Human Shores, Josh Fomon takes on the difficult situation of our country and world in a voice that vibrates. I think maybe it's something that sound and like looking, but also the sound, like vibration might be a good verb for this kind of thing. A voice that vibrates between prophetic and private, apocalyptic and lyrical. If it's Whitman-esque, it's the Whitman of the radical Latin American poets. Fomon's poems mourn, hope, and struggle. His language is sensuous, glistering. When I read it, I can feel the words in my mouth. This is his bio. Josh Fomon's first book, Though We Bled Meticulously, was published by Black Ocean in 2016. His poems have appeared in a variety of journals, including Afternoon Visitor, Black Sun Lid's Vestiges, Caketrain Diagram, The Destroyer, DREGINALD. Wow, that was a good journal. Is that still around?
It's back.
It's back, okay. All right.
Yeah.
The Georgia Review, Jubilat, Mercury, TYPO. Josh lives on the unceded lands of the Coast Salish people in Seattle. Please welcome him to Notre Dame.
Thank you, Johannes, and thank you all for being here. It's such a privilege, and I'm so stoked to read Paul. I'm going to try not to yell at you. I might get into a bit of a fugue state. We'll see. So this is my second book, Our Human Shores. Its title is kind of derived from a Keats line from his Bright Star poem, which is a crazy poem that has the line, "Or else we swoon to death." Like, who's doing that? It's crazy. And this was written a lot after 2016 to probably 2019, while I was working in politics, and just kind of revisiting writing and coming back to it. This first section I'm going to read from, I like to imagine, takes place near the ocean, and then we're kind of heading toward
I accidentally
the
got
mountains.
Cheetos all over your phone. I gotta show you.
This is so great. I have a newborn, so I'm looking forward to it. First the silence, then the break, the slow roll of catastrophe, a country reopened like a wound, the rage below, the love bestowed here, the decaying dream unwept like two parallel timelines of trying to hold you again and always discovering what it means to be broken. A cancerous growth, a kind stroke of this ballot dropping like a shallot into stew. This witness strophe, we take ghosts and whisper infinity. Depart in carved out oaks and gnarled breath, what comes together, sustenance held in bowls, a sacrosanct cleansing. This wave crashing like a lip onto your lip, soft sustained, I suck your rift, that empty silo like oxtail, then tender, or the meat tender and dripping fat. A misshapen consumption. This oyster fresh and milky, a purity, a purifier, a brining life in parts. We're always a slice away from splitting. The matrimony you have staked, rippling red waves over massive tides, the day glows awake, mirrors our memory, this taciturn break. Absence makes of me a skeletal transmission, a future silence hummed into the ether. In a fog of salt, the marsh blesses the morning, reflects all our history, our inhuman attempt at living, the sentimental idea of power. We see nothing until it reveals itself, or we seek out how far we can bleed human instead of human, another caterwaul clearing. But this warm morning we wash ourselves against decaying concrete slabs. We wash misshapen waves, pour flotsam foam over a rippled tide. We see bleach and outdo the limits placed on us like the water-soaked logs piling on dead streets. A flapping door waves its life awake. I step through the frame, the threshold that once stood here, once saw the ocean at a distance. The water slams it back closed, slams it open toward heaven. This music we search out, this magic humans hoard, but always this slamming, this brackish song, this throttling praise, this new way of living. So easily we corrupt with uncontained contagions. In moments the blight beckons, in moments the carrier ignites a plague. Beyond the systems we believe we die slowly. More readily we rearrange pebbles in the sand. We bask in sun, this promise like a catastrophic trophy of living. Our human shores where we lap at the intake, the emission of the operator's catatonic decay. The want to need to want for remedy, a throbbing naked still. A parlay of energy all at once bright, all at once a shudder of bodies flooding into loving bodies, this tragic art we tie down like waves. This threshold mounting, this invisible line, a warming to a bleeding night. The light sliced right between us, maliced callous, beached onto me, a hardened fossil of who I once knew. Time became a burning catalyst, denuded, riled toward spirals of body, pressed tender against mountains. We've never named our devils, called them home. This religion is a body count, a fading away, a melting night, our ritual bleach. Quick collapse, secreted hoarse breathing, what remains after the break, the tingling sting of frenzy, turning breach forever, painted like the sky turning blue. On the beach we fire, we flood, we kill, we cripple, we survive, we leach. The fog galloped under each sternum, each rib like an oyster cracked just right. A lingering still, the whole heart serrated. This rhapsody bleeding like a rainbow spout of rain. You open the door, the wind blasts through us like a sudden shiver of loss. But what is gone? Why are we still waiting? Such enthralling vigor, such prismatic velocity at the moment of conception. It's like a comet consumed into new deleterious sway. New atmospheres of possibility. We crumble before we burn, but ignite the efficiency in which we smolder. To have been in love, this is a story for you. Why do the motions create a vibration that casts a kind of shadow through our viscera? It's rocking fast, the mind cast away, stripped like a taxidermied core, all bones to recreate the image and how swiftly it ceases to exist. In the morning light, you are a dream accelerated against time. We forget so readily because the mind creates a vision pattern just beyond reality. I've never remembered a dream in which I have flown. I have died many times in multiple deaths too. The shame and disappointment of loving too much and too freely. There are ways to shape the future whenever we inhabit new kinds of places, new kinds of trajectories. Take what you learn and make a sparkling mortality to savor. Dreams ignite a primordial terror we wait to come true. In throes beyond the musicality, a dimension in which our body exists without our corporeal craving. What remains is an idea between the numbers 0 and 1, a string of points that binds us to the history of becoming human beyond human means. Like a body, holy body, the constant pace of waves battering always the door. Pardon me, I forgot my reading copy. How embarrassing. Alone on this coast, is there a ghost making blue this ablution? This detritus turned chatter, lingering like an oil spill, ebbing flotsam of who we want to be. I strip bare the marrowing cold. I stand whipped against the ocean, the cold snapped sand pelting a precise explosion wasted into distilled truth. An incipient thought flowers, pollinates a facsimile of fashioned hours. Hope we make, hope we need, and always a burrowing. Here I collect the chemicals from the air, a frosted wet morning. Exhale these vapored thoughts, extinguished immediately. I try to drown out the waves that are drowning me. Echoes shape the edges of the memories we bleed out together. Emotions we forget to forget. Love emblazoned upon skin. Call me a wreck. Call me when I pass fidgeting silent into pulsating Ragnarok. Promise me tomorrow. Call empty my name. A broken breath of me, my memories you have lain. I'm gonna go backwards and try to find a poem I want to read. There we go. I forgot this one. Peel the skin, peel the pelt toward Godhead, captured like the morning where we bled out our sorrows to plant new tides. The plastic sound, spooling pulls of celestial want, in and out, pulls the body closer toward perfect suns. Majestic resonance, boisterous, moist echo. You were in my mouth, freeing me from parts that promised a new vision, like corpses sprung free from the core. We were making kindness a pattern of our guilt, the whole version where you stood before me and knifed at your heart, pulled the whole heart beating out and put it in its place, the misery we shared, and here I am again, lost among the stumbling bodies, feeling the semblance of each body and feeling each other up, and even the dead ones cast upon us, a memory where bodies used to be bodies moving through the part in us and part in you. Two we are in arms, and armed we destroy so easily the kind of visions of ourselves we like to be in stolid fugues, like a whisper, all patterning an excuse to exist in the space together. The moment when brackish ocean transmutes fallen tears, assimilates its waves, it's raining today. I'm the gray hue puddled in streets reflecting back why the sky, which itself is deep white, hums an incantation. The permanent mood, an iridescent stain, made permanent the swirling doom. Since it was Valentine's Day, let's do a love poem. Love is a musical incision ignored willfully like an epilogue about to turn into a new beginning, an acknowledgement skillfully mold enough to name that which we shun, mutely but not enough to pirouette a sinful art. We are struggling in the corners where we pull ourselves apart to break nature and feel life thump open like an aria of gulls circling a crescendo of waves going silent. In storms, my heart cracks for you in explosions that contain all that will be. Scattershot, a song in massive drift, a diagnosis you have maimed, have listlessly merged, lust miming tragic, the flaming sadness. We say we will be retrograde. Pamphlet yourself, make sure you believe it, and so together, sizzling gab, the misspoken, the reclamation. In the morning we send free the missive, the permission to land. All will be forgiven, all have been retried. In the morning the sky lessens what can be forlorn, but what can be forlorn. That we raise together in action to flee from bed, and then we fill ourselves with darkness like an ignited sun. First the gulp, first the throng, a small passion hummed like music, a chaos so forward, so momentous, it sings a kind of creation. A martyr wounded martyr into what we could be, and then wisteria. It's in the breath, woe, that we glisten, reflect the promise of every day into a fissure. This purple loom falling off our limbs, depart from the exhaust energy held within. Explode this impossible human flare. We can bloom together, silent, as feverishly as we ring like bells. You and I will never be apart. I sing with a mission and not into a missive. Send me your fox. Send me your fox, this human threshold we asked wash. So I've been on the road for a few days now. It's been really hot, and I'm from the Midwest, and it's February and almost 70 degrees, which is crazy and concerning. So I think I'm gonna read some fun apocalypse poems.
Sorry.
Oh, no.
The realness.
Like I said, I've got an infant. I'm looking forward to it. I know it's gonna happen. Oh, actually, first, before I do that, I'm gonna read my Elizabeth Holmes poem. This is based off an interview with her where she was talking about how her family got together at the dinner table and like shared how they failed that day and took risks. We are a summation of our failures, like an exploding flower, a lupine craven, yarrow golden, beauty overtaken. New murmured stallions, riches smacking lips, and then missions to other planets. Consciousness mimicked into machines. As Columbine wilts, it scatters guilt, renewal. You're loved, you're not loved. You're a wholly misshapen art. But tell me, how do you live beautifully in the bardo? How do you mold spectacularly in what binds us furtively and bangs our metal? Yesterday, I didn't risk enough to fail, but it is entering the world enough. This harrowed plea, this mockery still, a sadness born from parts of all the shame we carry. Indiscriminate earth, slowly looping constant death, drive into this wall I have shaped within me. I want to free the mutant parts that plague me like a desert. Screech a yawn so uncomfortably I have to look away. Fraught saguaro of the everyday, a somnambulist lullaby. You're glistening like a still breach of shore, a tidal pool mired in exploding vibrant life, just like the sun begins to linger overhead. Ooh, I overshot that. Give me a sec. It's been a while since I've read this book in full, and it's so long. So if you get the book, it's like 4 books in one. Let's put that out there. Probably won't have one for a while. There we go. Timber to the apocalypse, the dilemma clear, burn everything, anything near. Sewn into my martyr, words become kindling for the end of the world. I lumber up the mountain, air thin like gasoline. We become new fervor among dying sentinels, a spark toward humanity. Listen clear. When forests ignite, they roar beyond comprehension, beyond boneyard night, beyond the sentence's capacity, a fresh toxic missive blooms. A colony of crisis, land beyond borders, stacks of new people bleeding a calm sorrow. A mistrial of hope, we all smolder, we all forget. I thought I was something righteous, but I just wanted to be right. A dilemma of seasons and endless night. We believe it because we regret. What we've done, we did on a promise. A sustenance, a corpse blossom, but not enough to end our habits, change our lives, our miseries. A majestic sight to behold, a majestic burnout held within the souls of the sentence. The fat sizzles the skin of misborn silence. We perform in mundane rituals. Pray away our mystic order to prevent casual faith, ash secreting on our hands, feet and still. The acerbic silence, the raw decapitation born into the night. This burning roar, this ignited hunger. We are queer and sick and gasping, a new kind of hush because we believe in mourning. We bleed true, we bleed swift, we die into lying fungus. The morning marks reticence, twirling leaves in the distance. I buy, sort, worry, like prayers into the night. We must find our gristle, must right our undoing. Queer woven ritual, camping through demise, we ply the heavens, strip the flesh off each new life booming. Thieves dabble at my side, take all the good parts of my memory, the land still miscarried. Stay like this with me forever, your voice hopeful, eyes tethered to stars. What goes unnamed at the end? What Armageddon do we exhale? This excess you must skim, this numantic passion, ripe for bias this night asylum. In the end, we compost a new horizon. Don't forget me where you stand. Don't forget the sorrow. I swallow my heart. The day goes plastic. And then I'm just going to read a few short ones real quick. It'll be quick. How do we face extinction and forego the bodies? Most of all, the bestial, the insectile, a fertile nullification of everything raw. Supine death pose a cathedral of limbs, and instinctually we pile our prayers toward the infinite. The finite erects an accumulation with distance and memories, the barren emptiness within every one of us waiting to get out. To be an arsonist when the west tinders, how menaced we find solace, how alone we smolder. When I want to die in myself, loose in my human frame, I crawl into the desert to witness the infinite hole of sand, the earth crumbling stardust to stardust, epoch to epoch, sentiment to sediment. A dance words twirl as they echo into the abyss. The future opened, ignited right in my eyes, a corpuscular popsicle, the moon gone red, an adumbration swooning night. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We have another hand for. Please stick around and talk, hang out, ask them questions if you want to. Have them sign your books. They're still over there. Thank you.